Hello everybody, it's May 23rd, 2022. We're going to take a look at Bitcoin tonight, and before we do, we're just going to go over what I said on Friday. Essentially at the time, nothing really had happened all of last week. It was all just corrective chop, and we have sort of still been stuck in that range over the weekend and now today as well. The two main scenarios that I was focusing on were right here. Potentially that the corrective wave 4 was still going on, we would potentially see a larger move up, to 32.5 or so, before finally beginning our wave down. And that could potentially go as low as 22 to 24 in that scenario. And then the other one is that wave 4 is done, or would be soon, and then with an attempt up to 30.5 or so again, and then wave 5 is going to form as an ending diagonal, which would give us a bottom potentially a little higher, 25 to 26 instead of the 22 to 24. On Friday, I saw nothing bullish at all. I still do not see anything bullish at all, and in the short term. But big picture, keep in mind we are developing what is likely a major bottom right now. So I am focusing on accumulating spot buys, and I'm hedging with shorts. So I am hedged 100%. In fact, I'm actually hedged a bit heavier than that now at this point. I am more short than I am long, but I have been accumulating longs. So let's dive in here, and this is going to get a little complicated in this region here. I'm just going to say it. So try to keep up with me here. If you have any questions, hop into the Discord group and just ask me there. But essentially, we are looking for a completion for a major corrective wave 4, and this has been going on since the 65K top that we saw last year. Not even the 69K top, the 65K top that we saw. And we're finally approaching a bottom of it, I believe. We are looking to complete the green C wave of a Y wave correction in wave 4. And so basically this is that last corrective wave that I'm looking for. And we should have 5 waves down within it. At this point, we have a 1 and a 2. In either, in pretty much any case, we've got a 1 and a 2, right? I believe this is the end of our wave 3 here, and that we've developed wave 4, or are currently in the process of developing wave 4, potentially still, and then wave 5 comes down here. The standard target for that is 22.2 to 23.8. All right, so let's zoom in now. Just focused on this final wave from yellow 4 down to yellow 5 is what we're looking for. And there are a couple of possibilities still. So what I was saying on Friday is that it was, I think it was right about here on Friday. I was saying at the time we have two possibilities. Either wave 4 is not yet done and would need to move over here. And that would be in this sort of orange WXY that's happening here. So this would basically be WX, and then we would get a Y wave up a little higher. That's where I was looking at that, 31.7 to 32.5 range potentially. And then proceed downwards from there. So that is still technically possible. However, with the more recent action that we've seen, I lean now towards the other scenario, which I have in red. Now this is not proven yet, but this was the other scenario I was looking at, is that potentially this is ABC up in 4, and 4 is actually done, right? And what's happened since then, we've not seen wave 5 develop as an impulse. None of this is impulsive action, right? If this was going to go down here, it should have done it as a nice 5 wave move really deep. The fact that it hasn't is actually very bullish in my opinion, and could potentially mean we're bottoming out a little higher than this 22 to 23 region, which would be great, because I really don't want to see it go below 24K, especially not for any length of time. So what that looks like is ABC down in a first wave in an ending diagonal. Diagonals can form as the first wave of a move or as the last wave of a move. And if they form as a diagonal as the last wave, it really shows weakness in the prevailing trend. So this is bears showing weakness, if this is what plays out. It's not proven yet, but I think we are, at this point I'm leaning towards that based on the current action. Right, we had an ABC down and a 1. This would be an ABC sort of sideways in a 2 in our diagonal. Okay, so this would effectively be our first wave, second wave down in a diagonal. And so I have 3, 4, and 5 here, but I don't actually know where exactly they're going to go yet. So what we're going to do right now is draw the fib extension to find out where they should go. And I'm going to delete this blue fib too because my box is on there. Just try to clean this up. All right, so in order to figure out where, diagonals don't really have standard targets is one of the problems with them, and they develop as 3-wave moves, which makes them very difficult to trade. But if we draw from 4 down to 1 and then up to the end of what I'm proposing is the end of 2 over here, then we can get potentially a target box for 3. It should at least equal 1 and really should exceed it. And usually you see anywhere between the 1.0 and the 1.618 for that third wave. So somewhere in this, I'm going to keep it as a red box because that's in the red count, right? Somewhere in this red box should be our next target down, and it likely develops as a 3-wave move because that's what we're looking at with these initial moves, right? So we'll probably see something like this, a nice big bounce and then down, right? Once that is then in place, then we can get a target for 4 and for 5 because you should have a diagonal typically from 1 to 3, wherever 3 ends, and then we put it right at 2. Okay, the top goes to 2. And then we would have a target here for 4 and then a target for 5. And this is sort of time-based. So, if this very quickly gives us a 4 and then dumps to a 5, we can end right here in this 25K region. If it takes its time, it could still get down here to 23.6 or so to end it, right? But there's also no hard and fast rule about where a diagonal needs to go. Like, it doesn't necessarily need to go all the way to the bottom, right? We might see, this, and then we get near, and then maybe we get near just a sort of a nominally new low, and then it goes up from there. That is a valid possibility. It does not necessarily need to touch that line, right? And again, this is just showing bear weakness, if this is how it plays out, and would give the bulls a really valid chance to prove themselves, which they have not done yet. In order to say a bottom is proven, a bottom is in, whatever low is struck, once we fill in these 5 waves, hopefully that's what we're doing, whatever low is struck, we need to see 5 waves up off of that low, even in like a micro sense, if we see that on like the 5-minute chart or 15-minute or whatever, that's great. Then we need to see a corrective pullback that holds somewhere in the general area of 382 to 618 would be ideal. So once this forms, then we draw a fib, and 382 to 618 area is ideal. It could go a little deeper if it wanted to. It absolutely cannot break this low though, right? So this still doesn't necessarily prove the bottom. It would be a really strong indication that the bottom is in, and I would definitely be buying here with a stop below that low. But then the real proof comes, of course, which I'm not waiting for real proof, I'm waiting for this. But the real proof comes then on the next move up. Once we break out over this high, that's pretty much a done deal at that point that the bottom is in. So that's what I'm looking for. We haven't seen it yet. We certainly don't have it off of this low. And that's why I say I really see no bullish case at all, because even the best case for the bulls is trash right now. We've got an ABC up and then maybe a WXY over, and we could be making a diagonal upwards instead, maybe. That's sort of the best case for the bulls. So that is something to keep an eye on. If we get, a really big pump here, that's likely what's happening, but it could also just be part of a larger corrective pattern before dumping down again into this area. So I wouldn't trust a diagonal unless all 5 waves did fill in, and then once again we held a corrective pullback, somewhere above this low. That would be the only way that I would see that being bullish, but it really shows weakness on the bulls' part if they do that. So, what's my preference? Is my preference to show bear weakness or to show bull weakness? Well, I definitely want to see the bears weak, because I'm still looking for 100 to 130K for the end of this bull run. So I want to see this. I want to see this develop. And, just as another thing here, a lot of times it develops as a diagonal downwards channel, but it doesn't have to. It could make an ending wedge, a descending wedge. That absolutely happens as well, and would be, again, showing bear weakness. So we really just have to wait and see here. I hope that we're getting towards a resolution, finally, to this large corrective region we've been in for a year. I hope we're reaching a resolution to it sooner rather than later, but if we pump, that just delays. That delays the inevitable. I mean, it's likely to still die from there because we don't have proof off the bottom. And, I really can't trust it unless it gives me 5 waves. And even if it does, it's going to do so in a diagonal, and it's going to be a trash foundation to start from. I mean, it's still possible to get a bull run off of that, but it's really not great, not ideal. So there we go. I think that sums it up, what I'm looking for. Hoping the quicker this resolves and gives us 5 waves down, the higher up that can potentially end. The longer it takes, the more it's drawn out, the longer it's going to take, and the lower it's going to go into this area, potentially, because it's just going to move down that diagonal channel then and not give us a bottom where we want it, which is above like 24, 25K. All right, guys, I think that's it for tonight. So make sure to hit subscribe. That really does help me out. Hit the like button on the video. That helps me out as well. If you appreciate the content that I provide, I think I've proven my worth at this point. And check out the suggested video here. If you're not convinced of my worth, watch this video and you will be. All right, everybody, have a good night. I'll check back with you on Friday.